The Daytona Duels was truly a tale of two Dylans. One in the first, missing the show, and the second, in the second, winning the whole enchilada. So in this video, we're going to be talking about quite an eventful duel, including, yes, this moment and what it means for the charter system going forward. Let's get into it. And yes, it's a bathrobe video because I imagine this is going to get out to you around 2 p.m. 2 a.m. See, my brain is fried at this point. 2 a.m. Eastern time in the eastern side of the United States. Unfortunately, I did not get to use the tinfoil hat today. It was very, very close. Very, very close. But it was Austin Dillon taking the win. And I do have notes that I'll be looking at, so my fried brain won't be too bad. But if you're currently fried in the brain, perhaps you would like to buy a noon t-shirt. That way you don't have to hear me do a video at 1:02 a.m. and then have to edit and upload it to get it out to you. Okay, so we've got a lot of things to talk about from this duel because there was a lot of things that happened. The number one thing, which was kind of course, the factor that we talked about in the first video, was who got in to the show and who missed the show. And we finally know. And I thought for a second my original prediction was going to be correct, and it just missed thanks to the crash that Garrett Smithley and Noah Gragson had. But Kaz Grala made the show, and I mentioned at the end of my first duel video that it was very likely that the same situation was going to happen as in Duel 1, and it did happen, which is that Reagan won the open race and therefore made the show based on racing his way in, and therefore the time transfer spot went to Kaz Grala, who just coincidentally happened to be the second open car on track in the finishing order. So at least in this case, there was not any kind of shenanigans going on. The top two open cars that were in this race made it into the show. So going home, that means it was Garrett Smithley, who, by the way, I spoke too soon on Garrett Smithley. I really do want to take back the things I said in my original video where I was just completely doubting him. He did a great job. And I thought, for a minute there, I really thought he was going to get in. So great job, Garrett Smithley. Probably deserved to be in this race. Certainly more than Derrike Cope. Anyway, Noah Gragson missed it. Again, Noah looked like a veteran out there, I got to tell you. I hope he gets a few more opportunities in that Beard Oil car before the end of the season because, again, they looked very strong. And had he got in the race, I think he would have had a great chance. Just missed out. It's unfortunate. And, of course, from the first duel, Timmy Hill, who was there and then wasn't, and, of course, Ty Dillon. Watch the first video if you want to hear me talk about Ty Dillon. The big one, of course, was kind of the thing that factored into who made it and who didn't. Of course, it was Smithley getting into Keselowski and then getting into Gragson. But kind of the important bit of this from a race perspective, and especially from the start of the race perspective, the front row car of William Byron for Hendrick Motorsports was involved in the wreck, and they are officially now going to a backup car. So that car will no longer be starting on the front row of the Daytona 500. That spot will be filled by Austin Dillon on the outside through virtue of him winning the race. Bubba Wallace. I've been talking about him all week, and you guys are going to have to put up with it. He is definitely going to be a factor in the race. Now, this particular duel, I'm going to have to tell you that I thought he was checkers or wreckers, and he very nearly was both on the final lap and ended up being neither. But he has made some mistakes, but it definitely looks like he is going to be balls to the wall trying to win this race. Now, he was very hard on himself when he got out of the car.
A lot of mistakes. Good debut, but nothing to be really happy about on myself. So it's okay for drivers to be hard on themselves. That's how we motivate ourselves to get out and do better. So, just hats off to my guys, 2311, for building a great DoorDash Toyota Camry. Tried to do all I could to help Truex there get Toyota a win. Appreciate Kyle for cut me a lot of breaks. I know I got a lot to learn here, but all in all, it was a good night, but I got some learning to do.
And I wouldn't say rightfully so, but I will say that I think in some ways it seems like Bubba's putting an awful lot of pressure on himself. I think he knows this opportunity that he's got. I think he knows that he's got one of the faster cars in the field. I mean, so many times Bubba would make a mistake, his car would fall to the back, and he'd drive right back up through the field. It's very clear that he is no longer in Richard Petty Motorsports equipment, kind of like what I thought and suspected would happen, is that Bubba's got a car that he's never had before, an incredible opportunity here. The problem is that I think he also is well aware of that, and he might be driving over his head a little bit. And in some ways, I'll say this about the duels. I was technically wrong, but I'll say it about the 500. I think he's going to be checkers or wreckers. I think he's either going to win the damn thing or he's going to have a spectacular accident on his way to get there. Okay, speaking of spectacular accidents, Derrike Cope. Oh boy. That was almost extremely ugly, and I hope I'm putting some footage up on the screen right now of this incident. So on the last lap, as you can see, the pack is coming by, and in fact, Bubba Wallace actually got forced below the yellow line at one point. Derrike Cope is going probably about 10 to 20 miles an hour on the apron. His cars are screaming by him at 200 miles an hour. Now, I am not going to 100% lay the blame at Derrike Cope. Chances are his car could have broken down, and he just happened to be sitting on the backstretch when the field came by, and it was just an unfortunate situation. But it wasn't like he was on the pace to begin with. In fact, he was so slow, I cannot believe he was making minimum speed. I will be 100% honest. And, again, nothing necessarily against Derrike Cope or Rick Ware Racing. Not going to player hate. I'm going to hate the game. The charter system they need to do something about this, because there needs to be some sort of perhaps higher minimum speed or maybe some more qualifications to actually make the show, because it's frankly embarrassing that a car and a driver that can finish sixth in a duel is not racing in the 500, and you have a car that's not even able to make the finish, stops on the apron of the back straightaway, and nearly causes a horrendous accident. It's locked in. I think that's ridiculous. Now, whether, again, it could totally not be Rick Ware or Racing's or Derrike Cope's fault at all. But if that's the case, and that's just happened to be an incident where they were stopped on that apron, why didn't NASCAR throw the yellow? And it did work out for them. Nobody got hurt. There wasn't an accident. But you're not going to dodge that bullet many more times. And that was one that I was like, looking back on it, because it happened so quick that when you're watching it live, you kind of register it and go, oh, holy crap. And then you're back to, oh my God, who's going to win the race? But kind of looking back on the replay, it's just like, man, what is going on here? And it's, again, the perfect example, I suppose, of the things I talked about in the first video. Like, why is that car in the field and Ty Dillon isn't? Or Noah Gragson or Garrett Smithley. I mean, there's so many deserving drivers and cars that, didn't do that. Finally, the finish. Bubba Wallace versus Austin Dillon. I think very much that these could be the two drivers. Maybe throw in an Eric Almirola, who, of course, won the first duel. Maybe a Joey Logano. I think you've got four names right there that could win this race. And they could all be, we could see a finish like that. Now, that's something that I kind of wanted to get to about the finish, is that I think this year's package, which is a little bit different from last year. They slowed the cars down about 10 miles an hour from the last year. So at times they would hit almost 210 miles an hour. Now they're lucky to hit 200 in the pack. They're slower, but it seems like the runs are a little bit bigger when they kind of sneak up on each other. It almost seems like we haven't really seen the effects of that yet. I think in the 500 we'll probably see a couple of bad blocks, which will lead to some pretty enormous accidents. But I'm going to be honest, it reminds me, and again, I get what anniversary it is, 20. It reminds me a lot of the 2001 package, one way or another. Just the style of racing, with the kind of like with the roof spoiler they used to have, and now obviously they have an absolutely enormous Lightning McQueen spoiler on the back of the cars. Just the racing, it reminds me of that. The slower nature of it, the runs, The fact that the pack is just locked together, the fact that drivers can go from the front to the back, the fact that the leader doesn't seem to have a significant advantage reminds me a lot of that package, which from a crowd-pleasing perspective, I think, and certainly I thought that the 2001 package, despite, of course, everybody knows what Dale Earnhardt died at the end of the race, but I think a lot of people racing-wise prefer that style of racing, so it looks like we're going to get that. Hopefully it's not with the same result, but it seems like it's going to be a good race. If the duels are anything to indicate that, I again hope it's a safe race. I pray it's a safe race. We had a big scare last year, and again, we almost had one at the end of this duel with Derrike Cope kind of getting into the way there, whether through his fault or not through his fault. But yeah, I'm a little bit tired. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. I'll be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in the next video. Don't worry. Stay tuned for more Daytona 500 coverage as the week continues. Thank you guys all so much for watching. This has been Dale Land on YouTube, and I will see you in the next video.